Love lives here.
So, good morning. I am Jeff Ryan. I'm the Senior Minister here at Riverside Center for Spiritual Living. It is my honor and pleasure to serve this beloved community where we know that love lives here, and you belong, and we belong, and all y'all and everybody belongs, right? Right? I know I was gone for a week, but that doesn't mean you get the week off, okay? You still have to answer when I talk to you, okay? Okay? Thank you. Lord, they're going to make me work for it again. I go away for a week. Jeez Louise. All right. Sí, señor. Gracias. Okay, pues. Well, now you got me started, Jeff. So this morning, I am standing in the kitchen, making my cup of coffee, and then I hear the little pitter-pat of feet come into the kitchen because evidently I have touched a wrapper or a bag or something. I don't know what it is that I touched, but there's Oliver right there at my feet doing one of these. Trying to figure out what it is. And I'm looking at him like, dude, I don't know what it was either, but okay, hi, good morning, right? I love the way that dogs show their curiosity, right? They tilt that head just trying to figure it out and tilt the other way. They're so cute, which is why I had to use that slide with all the dogs kind of like looking at something because they're just so cute. They're so curious, right? Cats are curious too, but cats are curious in a slightly different way. They look at it, they hang back, they look at it, and then they swat it, right? And the saying isn't curiosity killed the dog, right? It's curiosity killed the cat, which I find interesting because dogs in this case, a lot of people say cats are smarter than dogs, but I would say in this case, dogs are probably smarter than cats because they just sit there and they just tilt their head back and forth, maybe sniff a little bit. I remember Oliver sniffing in the air, trying to figure out, right? Yeah. But at any rate, so we have these ways of approaching curiosity, whether we kind of hold back a little bit and be a little bit more reserved about being curious, trying to scope things out, or like leaning in and getting in the fray before we know what's happening. How many of you are more dog people, kind of lean back and just kind of observe first? How many of you are more cat people, like, I'm just going to go right into it? There you go. My husband is a cat person. Who knew? I know he likes kitties, but at any rate. So there's these ways of approaching curiosity. What if I told you that curiosity is a spiritual practice? What do you say to that? Yes? Thank you, Allison. Allison says it's a spiritual practice. How about the rest of you? Yes, okay. So why is this a spiritual practice? Because curiosity allows us to broaden our horizons, as Ed was saying. It allows us to be open to new perspectives. It allows us to dive deeper, to expand and explore consciousness in a new way from different ideas, different perspectives. And as we do that, we get to learn about ourselves even more. We learn about ourselves and we learn about each other. We develop relationships and make connections when we are curious, rather than falling into judgment, right? And rather than falling into judgment, if we stay curious, we're like, I wonder why he did that. Rather than like, oh, he always does that, right? I wonder why he did that. I wonder why she said that. I'm curious. What else is going on here? What else is going on in life? What else is Spirit inviting me to pay attention to? What else is Spirit inviting me to consider? What other possibilities and explanations are available to me in this moment? And in so doing, I and you and we, what we do is we invite the wonder in. And so therefore we allow divine idea, divine inspiration to flow in. Right? Sound good so far? So I was really excited about this talk, Reverend Sanja. I was like, you know what? It's staying curious. This is full of fun. This is full of play. This is going to be so much fun. You saw the kid with the balls, in the ball pit. I'm like, this is right on. I love this topic. And then these beloveds, because I have to remember that we are all one with the one. I have to remember what we teach, that each one is a divine emanation, impartation, manifestation of the one life. Because how many lives are there? There is only one. And we are individualized expressions of that one. Now, those of us who are sitting here and joining us at home or online and joining us later, right, we understand this idea. We try to live by this idea. We try to recognize that I and my sibling are one, and that I and Spirit are one. There is no other. However, there's a whole bunch of people who have forgotten that. And so there I was yesterday morning, working on the Convention of the Americas, working on organizing that. That's something I'll talk about later in another time. But there I am, sitting there working on that. And a notification pops through on the computer that yet another individual, this time a white American citizen male, was murdered in cold blood in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Third shooting in 2 weeks. Second murder in 2 or 3 weeks. All at the hands of people that are supposed to be looking out for the country, protecting the country, protecting the citizens and people of the United States. The man's name was Alex Pretty. He was a ICU nurse at the VA hospital, serving our veterans. He was out. He saw a woman being interfered with, and he stepped in to try and video and protect her. He was holding nothing but his cell phone in his hand, the one hand, and his other hand was empty. Officers knocked him to the ground, beat him, put him face down, saw that he had a gun because he has the right to carry his gun, a Second Amendment right. But in Minnesota, it's an open carry state as long as you have your permit, which he did. They got it away from him and shot him 10 times in the back. So many of you, like me, are probably curious, probably asking the deeper question, when does this end? How does this end? What can I do? What can we do? because this is on all of us. This is ours to do. But we sitting here in Riverside on a Sunday morning, what can we do? We can become curious. We can stay curious. We can ask deeper questions. We can ask questions of ourselves and questions of our society so that we may gain a deeper understanding, a deeper knowledge, a deeper awareness. We can ask them outside and we can learn externally. We can learn from other people. We can learn from history. But we can also tap within to the inner authority and ask our inner selves, our inner guide, our inner wisdom, what can I do? What can we do? Reveal truth to me so that I may speak it, so that I may walk it out in the world. Beloveds, we can ask ourselves, we can evaluate and learn our history, not just the history that we may have been taught in school, and definitely not the history they're trying to teach now in terms of revisionist history. Not everybody, some folks. But the real history. The history that is inclusive of all peoples of our country. The history of our indigenous peoples, our Native American peoples, the peoples of Africa who were brought here against their will and enslaved, and yet now today find a way to live here, now, present, in, with, and as all. The people of South America and Latin America who have come to this country, who were here before we even got here. The indigenous people. We can learn the history of this country from all aspects. We can begin to appreciate it, to understand it more deeply than the idea of the Pilgrims on the Mayflower and the first Thanksgiving and the version of the Revolutionary War that we've been taught. We can look for a deeper understanding of how it got to be this way, because, my beloveds, my brothers, my sisters, my siblings, what we are seeing now on the streets of Minneapolis, what we're seeing now around the country, what we're seeing now in the halls of Washington and abroad, is our collective unconsciousness, also known as race consciousness, which is the collective, right? We're seeing that as the collective shadow, that which we have been pushing down, that which we have been repressing, that which we have been denying, that which we have been ignoring. What we're doing now is we are seeing that coming out sideways. Remember that the law itself does not, the law as in the spiritual law, the creative law, the law of creativity, that law does not care what we put into it. It will manifest whatever we put into it. And whatever we put into it is through not only our words, but our beliefs and our collective beliefs. This has been coming for a long time, my family. A long time, because we have been repressing and suppressing, ignoring the realities that people were living, the realities that this country was founded upon. We've been ignoring it, whitewashing it, and I do mean whitewashing it. And now we see this. Any shadow work that we do, James and I were talking about this the other day, right, James? Any shadow work we do, anytime we repress the shadow, anytime we repress those things that we don't want to look at, anytime we do that and we refuse to shine a light on it, we refuse to bring it to consciousness so that we may heal with it, so that we may deal with it, so that we may heal with it or heal it. Anytime we do that, it has to come out. It has to come out sideways. Think of a ball, right? A great big beach ball. And you put it down in the water and you submerge it in the water. And Lou and Sally know this from our water aerobics class. When you're trying to push that noodle down under the water and you're trying to hold it, you're trying to push the ball down underwater, eventually the ball goes whoop and comes out. That's what's happening now, beloveds. So where we can get curious is getting curious about our own history, learning, educating ourselves, really seeing what's going on here. And then what we can do is use our curiosity to tap into a unified vision of a world that works for everyone in all of creation. We need to tap into a unified vision of love moving forward. If we continue to focus on what has been, if we continue to focus on the atrocities, we don't ignore them, but what we need to do is we cannot meet that same energy with the same energy that created it. Albert Einstein said that you cannot solve the problem at the level of consciousness that created it. So what we, my beloveds, and all of us are being called to do is to rise in consciousness, to join in a higher vision, to join in a united vision of something better. Because until we can envision, until we can believe, until we can act upon something better, a higher idea, a higher consciousness, we are going to continue to get more of the same. Change happens when we change our consciousness, when we change our thinking, when we change our beliefs, when we change what we hold most dear, and we focus on the love, the unity, the oneness, the compassion, the joy, the shared ideals of a world that works for everyone. And we have to, yes, as Ed said in his invocation, it is an individual thing, but yet it is also a collective thing, because how many minds are there? One mind. Your mind, my mind, everybody's mind is an individualized expression of the one mind. Each one of us has the capability to use our mind to tap into and to access the greater collective mind. And as we do this together, as we come together to do this, change happens. Shift happens. And we get to stay open. Stay open to the possibility. Stay open to what's possible. Become really curious about what is available in this moment. How can I take the global vision, or a piece of the global vision, how can I take that and advance it in my way, in my one small way? How can I advance that? Because me advancing what I'm called to advance, and Ed advancing what he's called to advance, and Helen advancing what she's called to advance, Roxanne advancing what she's called to advance, Griselda advancing what she's called to advance, with each of us advancing, we are advancing together. We are lifting consciousness together, but we all have our eyes lifted to that high vision, to that high idea. Not running around like chickens with our heads cut off. Do we have to speak truth to power? Absolutely. Because what we know is that this power that we're speaking truth to in the physical realm is not real power. It's the power of man. It's not true, honest power. True, honest power is the divine power. The one power, the one presence. And so we also speak our truth to this power. Because as we're curious, we are receiving information. We are receiving the divine idea of a way of making things better, of what is mine to do. We're receiving that divine idea from Spirit, as Spirit. And then we, as the microcosm of the macrocosm, then speak our word into that creative medium, into that creative law that always says yes. We are speaking our truth, speaking the truth back into Spirit, back into that creative law that only knows how to say what? Yes. But now we are consciously directing our word. We are consciously directing our belief. We are consciously directing it back into Spirit, back into the law, which then takes that as first cause and then creates the effect. We are using our spiritual power. We are using our connection with the divine to then direct the flow of the law, to put word into causation for ultimate manifestation. And we're doing so consciously rather than unconsciously, as the race consciousness, as the collective unconsciousness. And as Ernest Holmes says, conscious thought is far more powerful and far greater than unconscious thought. We, my beloveds, speak the word of truth, speak from the word of truth, and we speak the word of truth into that law, into that creative medium. But we are called to do so consciously. So that is where we can become curious and more curious. What is it? How is it? How am I being invited? I want to share with you this idea. I want to remind you of our vision. And I invite you to take in this vision, listen to these words, and take them in and become curious as I share them with you. Where are you being invited? And how are you being invited? What actions are you being invited to take by Spirit to advance this forward? We envision a world, or we envision all people, all beings, and all life as expressions of God. We see a world in which every person lives in alignment with their highest spiritual principle, emphasizing unity with God and connection with one another. A world in which individually and collectively we are called to a higher state of consciousness and action. We envision humanity awakening to its spiritual magnificence and discovering this creative power of thought. A world where each and every person discovers their own personal power and the ability to create an individual life that works within a world that works for everyone. We envision a world in which we live and grow as one global family that respects and honors the interconnectedness of all life. A world where this kinship with all life prospers and connects through the guidance of spiritual wisdom and experience. We envision a world where personal responsibility joins with social conscience in every state, in every area, in every arena of the political, corporate, academic, and social sectors, providing sustainable structures to further the emerging global consciousness. We envision a world where each and every person has enough food, a home, a sense of belonging, a world of peace and harmony, enfranchisement and justice. We envision a world where resources are valued, cared for, and grown, and where there is generous and continuous sharing of those resources. We envision a worldwide culture in which forgiveness, whether for errors, injustices, or debts, is the norm. We envision a world that has a renewed emphasis on beauty, nature, and love through the resurgence of creativity, art, and aesthetics. And we envision a world that works for everyone and all of creation. Get curious, my beloveds. Stay curious. Where in this statement are you being called? How are you being called to serve? How are you being called to take action? How are you being called to step forward? Start there. It begins with each one of us taking that first step. Start right where you are. So I'm going to invite you to move to tables at this point. We have some questions for you to discuss that are centered on this topic of curiosity. The first one being, how has curiosity helped you to grow spiritually? The second question being, how can you choose curiosity instead of criticism this week? And then the third is, what questions are emerging for you in this season, in this time? What questions are emerging for you? So let's go ahead and move to tables. All right. So, as you are asking yourselves what questions might you be asking in this season, or what questions are emerging for you in this season, I want you to consider the quality of your questions. Consider the quality of your questions. Are they just simply yes/no questions? Or are they short answer questions? Or are they questions that really expand ideas or explore ideas or deepen your understanding of something? Because those types of questions really help to strengthen relationships and connections. And so when we do that, we then have a deeper inquiry. So one question you might consider, and this is your homework for the week if you choose to accept it, is simply tell me more. As you were having a conversation with somebody this week, just simply say, tell me more. And invite them to share even more, go even deeper. Tell me more. Because in so doing, what you're doing is you are listening from a greater perspective. You are showing a deeper interest in somebody. And you're really trying to learn and understand and expand your own perspective. So tell me more. And also invites a greater sense of compassion and connection. Tell me more bridges ideas and thoughts and ways of being. So consider that. Tell me more. And notice how you saying tell me more at least once this week, or, once every day this week is even better, how that really shifts things for you in your relationships and with others, as well as, importantly, your relationship with yourself. So Ed said, if you stay open, right? If you stay open, then Spirit speaks. And when he said, if you stay open, my mind, of course, went to, if you stay open, you don't got to get open, right? If you stay ready, you don't got to get ready, right? So if you stay open, you don't got to get open because you're already open, you're already available to Spirit. And as I was saying earlier to you, there is, when we stay open to Spirit, when we stay receptive to Spirit, then we can speak truth back to Spirit because we are receiving it from Spirit, then we're putting it back into the law for the law of manifestation. And so Ernest Holmes on page 159.5, Allison, through 160.1 says this: if we believe that the Spirit incarnated in us can demonstrate, shall we be disturbed by what appears to contradict this? We shall often need to know that the truth which we announce is superior to the condition we are to change. In other words, if we are speaking from the standpoint of Spirit, then there can be no opposition to it. If we are speaking from the standpoint of Spirit, there can be no opposition to it. This is what I'm inviting you today. Stay curious and speak from the standpoint of Spirit, because there can be no opposition to it. So this morning I want to close with something from Ernest Holmes. So I invite you to go ahead and close your eyes and join with me in consciousness as I share with you this, as we speak from Spirit, as we speak from truth. Almighty God, everlasting good, eternal maker of all things and keeper of my life, thou art all. Infinite presence within, in whom all live, joy supreme, flooding all with gladness, I adore thee. Eternal peace, undisturbed and quiet, I feel thy calm. O thou who dost inhabit eternity and dost dwell within all creation, who dost live through all things and in all people, hear thou my prayer. I would enter thy gates with joy and live at peace in thy house. I would find a resting place in thee and in thy presence live. Make me do thy will, and from thy wisdom teach me the ways of truth. Compel me to follow thee, and let me not pursue the paths of my own counsel. O eternal and blessed presence, illumine my mind and command my will, that my soul may be refreshed and that my life may be renewed. Today as deep cries unto deep, so my thought cries unto thee, and thou dost answer. I am renewed and refreshed. My whole being responds to thy love, and I am complete in thee. All my ways are guided and guarded, and I shall live with thee eternally. O lover of my soul and keeper of my spirit, none can separate us, for we are one. So shall thy wisdom guide me, thy presence dwell within me, thy love keep me, and thy life envelop me, now and forevermore. And so it is. All right, so I invite our practitioners, core council, and practitioner interns to please stand and surround the space. And let's come together in consciousness, shall we? So I recognize here and now that there simply is one power, one mind, one presence, one consciousness that is the creator and the creation. It is the all in all. For it is all that there is. There is nothing but this one life, this one love. And through itself, through the divine creative medium that it is, that only says yes, it planted this high idea of our planet and the life on it. And because there is only this one source, this one substance, there is nothing else but this one, it created life here, life everywhere, throughout the universe, throughout the cosmos. And this creation is the manifest body of this one. There's nothing else for it to be, because there is only one source, one substance, one stuff, the good stuff that is all. There is nothing anywhere that is not of and as this one thing, this one stuff, this one substance. This one substance is the divine, is Spirit, God. Therefore, I know that I am one with this one, that the who of who I am, my physical being, my psychological being, my mentality, my spirituality, the spiritual essence of who I am, the totality of my being must and has to be this one in form, this one individualized as me, as this spark of consciousness, as this beloved of the one. I am inseparable from it, for I am that I am. And as I know that this is true of me, I know that this is true of everyone gathered here this day, I know that this is true of all of life, because there is simply one truth, one life, one love. And so I am unified with these brothers and sisters and siblings that make up creation. For I know that each one is the divine substance, the divine consciousness. And so from this place of complete unity, I speak my word here and now, calling forth an evolution in consciousness demonstrated, calling forth a higher love, a higher idea, an expanded consciousness, operating in, through, and as each individual here for the greater collective good. For I know that this consciousness, this conscious awareness, shines the light, the one light, that dispels any idea of darkness, any belief in darkness, any belief in separation. This one light that each one is radiates forth from each one, as each one, illuminating the world around us, shining our lights into the shadows, so that collectively we may reveal truth. And restore ourselves, each other, and what we have created from the shadows to proper order, wholeness, harmony, love, joy, abundance, so that we align ourselves with this and we create a world that works for everyone and all of creation, unified in consciousness, unified in love. And we love forward together. And for this realization, for this high idea, for this vision, I do give thanks. And I give thanks for its fulfillment now, knowing that it is already done. I release this word back into the law, which accepts the focused consciousness and makes it manifest now. I let this be so, and so it is. So I invite everyone to stand and let's say this affirmation together. My curiosity is a doorway that Spirit loves to walk through. Here we go. My curiosity is a doorway that Spirit loves to walk through. Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
It is this love.
There's this thing called love.
It's in my mind, body. Love is in everything I do. I am it. I share it. I receive it. And I move love forward because love lives here. Let's sing it. Happy Sunday.